Hello everyone, today happens to be January 28th, which has become a tradition to release some sort of Clank footage or discussion or announcement. It's my birthday, in case no one here knew. I'm not quite sure how Pauli started it because I know he's the one who started it by putting stuff for my birthday as Clank stuff. So I guess in a way, the official Clank day is January 28th. I guess we could call it that, why not? It's a random ass day, so might as well have an official Clank day, right? Everyone else has a special day, so why not?
Hi, you know me as David, the man of a million faces and roles. I lost my real one years ago.
Link in the description of all the 5 movies we've made. Please don't watch them.
The new Clank movie. Oh, Agent Recruit. Isn't that gonna be a doozy?
The reason we do this announcement near the same time is because Potty likes putting this on my birthday because I don't know. And basically each one of these we talk about the different thing we're gonna do, and now we're talked about doing the Clank movie because we're doing another one. Oh my god!
It's a new Clank movie. We should have milked that series anymore.
We made another movie because I don't know. Everyone tells us to stop. They're horrible, but we're not gonna stop.
I guess we have a new Clank movie coming up. It's supposed to be the last one, hopefully. That's probably the final Clank shit we'll do.
See you soon, legends.
I don't know what's wrong with me. It's my birthday today, so hi, mom.
How old are you now?
None of your business. Okay, that's how old.
I guess happy birthday, David. We want to know your feedback.
Don't bother my fucking birthday. Just let me die alone in a hole.
Plus we're Clank too. That's his, I guess, Clank is that.
So this year, for this one, since we're in the middle of so much of it and we're literally on the precipice of beginning to film it, we kind of don't have anything to show. And what we have, we just can't show. It's a very delicate little situation. So I thought in exchange of not being able to show you something new, I would sit my little butt down and talk a little bit about the shadows and a little bit of Clank lore in general, the story and what we've been coming up with as a fair trade. So if that sounds like something you'll be interested into hearing about and stuff, then please stick around. If not, well, there you go. That's what you'll be seeing here. So sorry, but no new footage and stuff because that's just not available. So Shadows has been a thing that we've been working for or towards ever since 2016 was the first time I guess I really came up with an idea of wanting to do more of the character. I had first mentioned it in our end year Christmas video, and I guess every year since then we've kind of been on the precipice of now it's gonna happen, and to be honest, I can't always remember why it didn't happen. I know Pauli had let me know we had filmed some footage I had even forgotten because that idea of footage for Shadows existing kind of mind-blowing, especially since it's been this kind of like project in the air for so long. It's the scene is with Inca White and Pauli here. They're talking. After Clank leaves, he gets a phone call, which we ended up using, where he gets a call by Eric, and he looks at and eventually we also have him looking for the Clank Serum and all that stuff. It was a way to use the footage we had filmed to make sense of it. It might as well since the footage was filmed, and that was originally some of that was meant for Shadows. And there's another dialogue scene where I guess we get a bit more explicit with the plot of Shadows, which I'll be talking in a second about, which I don't know if we still have footage of, because again, it was so old and the archive would have to be dusted off and looked for. So if we find anything, we'll put it here. If
it isn't there.
It isn't there. It isn't there.
I just had that picture that you can see.
This is the picture. Pretty cool. I will mention that yes, there is one full episode of Shadows already filmed. Because of what it contains being one of the last episode in the season, it's spoilers. So we just can't. You just can't. Like if this was episode 1 or 2, well, okay, show some of the good stuff. But if it's the climax, the ending near that was stuff, we can't. We just
can
can't.
only use saved footage.
Honestly, we just can't. Like we don't want to reveal who or what or anything. Like plot, locations, characters, anything. Just because it's part of the fun to see it for the first time, right? That's the whole point of The whole point of Shadows is to take the story of Eric and push it forward from this character that has very much clearly been established as a former Clank before the modern one has taken over, and he did this for an unspecified amount of years. He then clearly became a bit of a bad man and became the Shadow, and then eventually was stopped by Clank, and now it's the idea of picking up where that kind of ended. So this should be picking up right kind of after, I would say, around after Mosaic. What is he looking for in his life now that so much has happened in it, and what is the purpose of him going on or moving forward, and what role can he still play in the overall world, for good or for evil or for nothing? And it's dealing with his inner demons, and I mean the shadow is a very clear expression of negativity and the dark side that we all have within us. The bad person we could all become and be if you so to choose. I forget which classic literary or film it was referred to as the shadow. It's a classic, but so it's nothing original by any means. But it's definitely it's simplistic in the best way, where it gets the point across. You get the idea of what that's supposed to represent. And the show being called Shadows is, well, you know, this character being surrounded by his shadows, his demons that he's created in his life, all the bad he's done, inadvertently or inadvertently, you know, actions he took himself to make, and ones that just happen around him by his existence and just mere as a player on the board game, right? We have established that the CIS was secretly kind of puppeteered by the Blood Hunters, and what does that mean for him? This is stuff that we definitely want to explore, and we've alluded that he obviously knew that, which is why the whole plot of Legacy happened. So he knew that was happening. He came to stop it, whilst at the same time putting himself in a position of power. He really felt like, you know, if he was in charge, he could do it better. Everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story, right? What kind of broken person is he? Can he be fixed? Can he atone for his mistakes and for the damage he has done? Very duality. If you haven't figured it out by now, I will be playing a fun double role of Eric and of Shadow. Obviously, Shadow being a figment of Eric's imagination. It's almost like those sides of him are being split up, right? You have the dull emotionless good person almost, and you have the expressful, fun bad guy. And they're both characters in their own right, really, the Shadow and Eric. And I think that's why this is really fun, because it can be a character study on one person, but yet on two characters, if that makes sense, right? I mean, you know, ultimately he is dealing with a sort of dissociative personality disorder or such. I apologize for not using the right terminology. So that's kind of where the story is and where it's going to be heading. I hope you stick around and find out where it does go. So here's to it. It's happening. Finally, baby. Let's go.
I think it's time for an encore.
Now, the other part of the video, which is Clank lore. Oh boy, Clank lore. What an interesting little tidbit. What an interesting little character we've created, I think, and we really care about. We have Eric, which is a Clank. We have Pauli, which is a Clank. Oh, well, Eric, since he doesn't have a real name, so he's still referred to as Clank, whilst the old one has a real name of Eric. So we have this one, the old one, the modern one, and technically the new one, which is played by Rebecca, or as she's known, Julian. She is also a Clank. The definition of the Clank has definitely become more of than just a spy name to becoming the idea of someone that has taken this drug, the Clank Serum, as we've shown it across the series. And we've done our best to try to represent that there's been different versions of the serum giving to each one of these guys, by also giving it a different color, making it a bit more simple that way as well, and also kind of in our own canon and when we write, have an idea of what that means for each character. And I guess I will give you that lore drop now for the first time. So we'll start with the first version of it, the first iteration. Cue the scene.
You know what this is? It's Clank Serum. The third iteration. You know, first iteration Eric had, and then third generation, that's what Julia. So.
That Eric has received is the yellow Clank Serum. And this one is what I would call the most potent one. But it's also the most dangerous version of it. So for him, this was a constant need of taking. And that included needles or pills or whichever other way it could have been devised to be injected or ingested into the system. It wasn't a one and done like the other two were, because it was basically a straight up drug he had to use. We obviously, as we were thinking about his character and stuff, we came to the conclusion that at a point the amount of intake of this drug that he had taken had become almost like a permanent, right? Like at a point, it was just part of his system. It had altered his DNA to some degree. We always thought that was an interesting idea, so he wouldn't need it anymore at a point, which is why he is strong and fast and all that jazz in Legacy, because otherwise where is he getting his supply from, right? He doesn't work for the CS anymore. He doesn't have Alfred backing him up and, all that other jazz. In that version, this version of the serum, the yellow one, this no longer exists. Or maybe it does. Who knows, right? We shan't spoil anything. But presumably, no, it doesn't. Which, yes, this version, again, would make him stronger, faster, it would heal him up, full, badass, whatever. But he does become like a focused machine, which was always the idea behind him. Like this biological machine was what always Eric was meant to be. Then let's say we have the next Clank, played by Pauli. He has a red one. We don't think we've ever shown it, but canonically it is red. Red pill, everyone. We will show. His version was, I think we've all agreed that it was the weakest one out of the three, because it was the character of Alfred that really made this decision, because, after seeing what happened to one person he cared about and ultimately learned to care about, he didn't want to see that happen to another human being, right? So and also, the Bloodhunter is probably not very happy with the result of the first Clank. It didn't really turn out the way he wanted, went rogue and all that jazz, and, give it a few years and he comes back to, kill them all and all that stuff. So I guess it didn't really work out for them. Which is interesting, because we still wanted to give him the idea of healing and stuff. We were he should still be able to heal and all that stuff, but it definitely is removed a lot of the strength and stuff from the other Clank. So in a weird way, technically speaking, this Clank is the weakest Clank, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't made up for that by just sheer humanity that is in there, although may not be able to show it because of factors. I want to say things, but I choose to bite my tongue. So it's interesting, because I feel like the idea of like the weakest Clank in a way being the strongest in a lot of different ways is kind of very interesting to talk about, right? You have someone that had ultimate power, really, or whatever, and couldn't put it to any good use because of circumstances, and you have one that has limited power and yet chooses to spread it whichever way he can for the betterment. And I think it's a very interesting story perspective to have that be an argument. I mean, just look at their fight in Legacy, where technically the question is, who would have won that fight? I think ultimately, yes, Eric would have probably won, and yet his own hubris was the downfall, because he chose to use that power unwisely. He chose to abuse that power and underestimate what he could do, what Clank could do, the other Clank could do, the new Clank. I think it's a very poetic story point, and very interesting, this idea of strength and might not always being what you need. We have definitely shown this Clank be compassionate and extend a hand to others in his own bizarre, dehumanizing way, because of, again, stuff that I shan't talk about, because, I think so. He's definitely super important. I've always really liked that aspect about his being, about this unsureness of where to stand in the light or in the darkness. And I feel like how Eric was very much in the darkness and has always been in there, in his struggle to maybe hopefully going into the light permanently. We've always had modern Clank always be in a kind of semi-middle state, where he can dabble both in the dark and the lightness of himself, but at the same time not being sure of what is the right path. He thinks it's light because that makes sense, but that doesn't mean he won't dip into the darkness, because he sees that around him and he sees it can get effect and result. And I think it's almost like the attempt of his emotions screaming out of him, almost. He's just like bottled up within him. So now we come to our newest and latest Clank, which is Julian. Now Julian's a fun one, because this is the blue serum. This is Alfred's moment where he thought, like, I gotta find the middle ground. We can't go yellow extreme, that didn't work out. There's gotta be a middle ground, that we can find the perfect ground. And I think he did find it. And what's interesting with it is that the Clank Serum obviously changes your mood. It alters you, and it really makes you way more wow. And of course, remember, these two guys are a one and done. This guy had to take a constant supply until eventually it kind of became part of him. So he got a thumbs up, I guess. But, mood swings and shit. Not fun. She has these mood swings and extremes. But at the same time, they're also unsure because they've never given it to a woman before, to their knowledge as well. And so far they've only experimented with boys. They, of course, have no idea. They're not women either. They don't know how that affects their biology and physiology. Modern Clank probably doesn't even know the extent of what even half of it does half the time. She's in a very volatile position in her life where when we see her in Legacy, you know, she had presumably died in the previous film and now had been resurrected by this drug. But unwilling to her, for all we know. Maybe she would have liked to die. Maybe she would have liked to have a choice in the matter. Who knows? By modern Clank, which had insisted for her to be given this. And the mood swings and exertions, I think, are an interesting perspective. Not only that, the fact that, you know, she's in this volatile, unsure state of maybe even living death in her head, but also now this responsibility that is going to be put on her shoulders. Although someone that clearly wants to take upon responsibility and leadership role wasn't really given a choice. So for someone that is, I think, very want to be in control, they were not in control of being in control, if that makes sense. I don't know. So that's very interesting to see. And again, strength-wise and power level, we kind of see her as the medium point. Stronger than modern Clank if we look at it from just the physical and all the abilities one gets. And probably stronger than Eric, as after we saw in Legacy, after Eric chose to take the new modern version of the Clank Serum, the blue, these two's relationships are a little rockier. You know, this guy's nice, but these two are not, you know, the best of buds. So, you know, Clank's been off on some adventures right now after the end of Mosaic, and been doing some stuff, and, you know, he's been taking some time off, as we may have hinted at. If not, here you go. So I do believe she's been in charge for a bit, and I think it'd be interesting to see how she handles and reacts to the world, and you can bet we'll probably be seeing her in Shadows. I feel like it's only fair to say, again, might as well give you some tidbits if you've been waiting for so long. It makes sense. It's a show about Clanks, to be fair, and overall, and what that means for them and their powers and whatever. You know, exploring the whole idea of what does it mean to be Clank, I think. And of course, then we've seen the Green Serum, which is the last one we'll be talking about because it's the latest one we've seen. And that is I guess, backwards made version of the blue one that Infernum created. And we see that in, can you guess which movie? In Red Mosaic. And I guess we're not really quite sure to which degree of power this thing will give you. I mean, I'm sure we know, but as the audience, I'll say wait and see if it ever gets used or whatnot. It is
If it ever gets used.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe it stays in the. Maybe we put it on the shelf and we never use it. No. So who knows to which degree this serum can affect someone? We have not seen that be taking place or hold of anyone. But it is obviously to be known that although obviously all of these are artificial, think of this one. If you think of these ones as the natural ones, this is very much the artificially made, not by the pros, whoever the pros who made the Clank Serum are. We'll see what that serum can or will do to people. We have no idea if it has the same effects and positive and negatives on someone, if it needs to be tinkered with before it can be used properly, because the Clank Serum does give you positive and negatives. So let's go over those positive and negatives as the last little bit. So as a Clank, someone that has taken the drug, if you of course survive the transition, best of luck to you, there is increased strength, speed, healing. I would even say to some degree intelligence. I guess we'll do our best to showcase that a bit more. And you know, some of the downsides of it, I think specifically the most downsides have probably been the emotional flux that they've all kind of dealt with to some degree. I think Eric specifically with the yellow one, because that one was a very volatile one, and the rest of them to a lesser degree, but clearly had an impact on both. So maybe they all three have a pretty heavy alternation of emotion and stability. And also a big one that we think is a really interesting story point is, well, the Clank Serum makes you sterile. We've never really addressed it because what's the natural point to just throw that little bit of lore out there? But I think it's a really interesting point because I think it can really kind of explore the idea of humanity in these people and the way they feel that they've been... that this gift is also a burden and that they could be using it, of course, depends how they use it, but also something that will forever change them in a way of sacrifice. I like that idea that willing or unwilling, this was given to them, and now there is a sacrifice that they carry. This idea that they can never have children. I don't know. For me, that feels like a very interesting idea of a story. You know, I think having that choice kind of be taken away from them is an interesting thing because it's such a very much a choice you choose, right? Like it's such a purposeful, meaningful choice that you can never have now. And I don't know, I've always thought it was very interesting. And what could that mean for them psychologically and stuff, and obviously the idea of clearly altering their biology in some sense, and what that means.
This is some extreme Clankpedia knowledge. There.
This is very much Clank Wikipedia knowledge right here. If people know, now they know. I mean, we've never really talked about it, but that's why this is the Clank lore episode, baby. You're only here because you care. Like me, are a lore nerd. I'm the kind of guy where Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, it's just fun to listen and understand more of the world. If anyone is like that about Clank, hey, you can have it, because trust me, I can tell you Clank lore for days. If you ask me questions, I have answers to questions you never knew you wanted to ask and never knew you maybe didn't want answers to. Yeah, but that's the thinker. This is the Clank episode for my birthday this year. Who knows? Maybe next year we'll have some footage and stuff. Hey, who knows? Maybe one day we'll release a Clank thing on my birthday. Wouldn't that be a twister-rooney? So hey, 28th of January, Clank Day, baby, official, I guess, canonized today. See you soon, legends.
So
Jojo.
don't you worry about a thing. I hope